Wow, I've really actually done nothing.
It's cool. We're just going to have a fun one.
Yeah. I haven't even thought about how to have fun.
I'm feeling positive about today. I'm feeling really good about this.
Okay. Great.
Should we do what you've been watching? I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
Well, why don't we just talk about things we've been watching and then we'll kind of interlace in the stuff about...
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Well, now that I've said this, I've been recording this, so I can just put this in as the intro at the start.
Oh no, you have my big confession.
I want an explanation as to why the format is slightly different.
Sometimes you don't want to see how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't.
Hello, it's the Cindy Skinny, the film podcast from the team at the Skinny Magazine. We have a slightly chaotic configuration this week. Ellie has gone on holiday. Lovely weather for it as well. We were in a meeting for 2 hours today. We had to have all the windows shut because someone wouldn't stop hedge strimming directly outside. So we're all a bit delirious from the heat. But the we who's delirious is me, Anahit, who's currently unpicking some crochet.
I'm actually counting stitches.
She's actually counting stitches. And Jamie Dunn.
Hello.
Hello. Is this where we find out that Ellie's what holds this podcast together?
I really think so.
Yeah, I think there's like
not good.
Yeah, there's I think that you need a combination of all the what are the humours, like the different kinds of bile and stuff.
Yeah.
What would we each be?
Don't let us distract you from the crochet. I'll just explain to the audience what's going to happen on today's episode. You keep counting your crochet.
I've missed 4 stitches. Fuck my life. Okay, I'm actually going to leave this because it requires maths.
Right. Okay.
What would we be? The different piles.
On today's episode of the podcast, we've got one film that we're going to review. We're going to talk about some things that we've just watched generally. We're maybe going to talk a bit about TV, something possibly to do with Record Store Day, and some other bits and bobs. But in general, Jamie, we said it was going to be a fun one. That's what I kept threatening because were short on prep, and when we were coming out of that meeting, we realised that we hadn't actually... You know what? Our whole lives have been preparation for this podcast. We watch films all the time. We enjoy them. That's why we're here.
We do.
Well, I'm convinced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Well, let's crack on then. So, shall we do the serious review bit first, or should we do Should we do the first of what might be a couple of rounds of what everyone has been watching?
Yeah.
Sure.
Shall we do the cinematic round first, given that this is ostensibly a film podcast, in that we are talking about films, and this is apparently planned to some degree. Jamie, I'm going to come to you first.
Okay.
Tell me about a film that you've been watching. Was it good? Was it bad? Who was in it? What was the plot? And so on and so forth.
I watched a really good film at the weekend, which has been kind of under the radar. Black Bag by Steven Soderbergh.
I walked out of that.
Oh my god! Well, I'm going to say I thought it was really good.
Let him go first.
Oh, that's great! Because I think people.
This is how you podcast.
No. I'm actually on your side, to be honest.
I went in with very low expectations because I heard it was just minor Soderbergh. And he's one of these guys who just puts out a film every year, maybe 1 out of 5 are good. That's kind of just his style. He just makes films. And I think this is one of the good ones. And what surprised me is I expected it was going to be like Haywire. It's a film he made probably 10 years ago now, the kind of spy thriller. It's going to be action-packed, wall-to-wall fighting, James Bond style. It's actually much more of a kind of chamber piece. It's a bit more like a kind of Agatha Christie kind of thing. It's so the plot is Michael Fassbender is a spy, and he seems to have a kind of expertise in sort of interrogation, and he's tasked by some shady guy to work out which of his colleagues is a double agent and selling kind of secrets to Russia. And it turns out one of the suspects is actually his wife, who's Cate Blanchett. So he's conflicted because he's the whole kind of thread of the film is how much these two love each other, and but also how being a spy makes you perfect for cheating because you're an expert at subterfuge and sort of lying, and sort of you've got so many excuses for it to be you just say the title Black Bag is basically there's a secret mission, so if you're on a black bag for the weekend, you're not allowed to ask what the other person's doing. So that's the kind of premise, but it's also this guy loves his wife so much he would definitely allow her to be treasonous and not so that's kind of tension.
That's the dream, to be honest.
I mean, it's that is love, isn't it? But like I say, it's it's a very talky film. A lot of people sitting around. There's a great kind of set piece at the start. His idea is to get all the suspects round for dinner, and what he does is he spikes the chatter masala with truth serum. So basically you have this chaotic dinner where everybody's dropping truth bombs, but they're all kind of sleeping with each other. They're all kind of having affairs. It's really juicy and really fun and really sexy, I thought. But yeah, it's quite a small contained film. There's a couple of set pieces, a couple of interrogation scenes, but just the cast I thought was in real kind of top form. My one complaint about the whole film, which I thought was excellent, is the cinematography is really bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, I was like wiping my glasses, thinking, have I got like a spot in my eye? Because like everything's like well, first of all, really dark. Everything's like kind of lit by candlelight or like low lighting, and then it's also he's got some sort of lens on which makes I don't know if it's anamorphic or something, but like there's kind of like it looks like there's kind of grease on the lens or something like that to make everything a bit kind of soft around the edges. So that annoyed me. But otherwise, banging movie, I thought.
Okay, so banging movie other than the weird lens stuff. Now, Anahit, I believe you have a retort to this, in that you walked out of this film.
I did walk out of this film. I mean, I don't really have like a rejoinder. I think I went to watch it
I don't need one. I'm just a hater.
Yeah. I don't really have like an argument against it. I think I went on Sunday evening and I'd already had like quite a full on day, and I really love some of Soderbergh's stuff. Is like some of my favorite films, like Aaron Brockovich and Sex, Lies and Videotape. I think are perfect films. And so like to me that actually is like a bit of a high bar in terms of what he does, and I think maybe I actually just haven't seen a lot of his shit ones. And so I kind of went into it being like, this will be fucking great. And then I found it like a little bit, the pace was a little bit weird. It was a bit inert. It was a bit like, and I thought it was also incredibly ugly, but like quite like mannered, I suppose, like that bit where they're all like arguing with each other or whatever. And none of that was a terrible thing, but I was just like, and I should say, I get into films for free because I have like an unlimited. So it was just like an unlimited kind of like booking that I'd made. And I think we were about like 25 minutes in, and I was just like, I actually don't want to be watching this right now. Not even that I wouldn't like to watch it someday, but I just don't want to be watching this right now. And I would rather go home and do like the many things that I'm now just like thinking about doing instead of like paying attention to the film. So I walked out. But it wasn't a like, when I walked out of, what was it, Metropolis, that was a real like, I am going to kill myself if I stay in the cinema. Whereas this was just like, I probably shouldn't have made this booking. Yeah, exactly. It was really that. Yeah. Like I'm moving house in like 2.5 weeks. And I was like, I should probably go and pack. Did I pack? No, I watched Love is Blind. But that was that was my thinking.
The behaviour of a true cinephile.
Yeah.
You love to see it. Cool. Anahit, have you got any films that you watched, or do you just want to talk more about Love is Blind?
No, I don't want to talk more about Love is Blind. I think I said everything that I had
I've said what I have to say.
I did. I've only seen like a couple of things because I have mostly been watching Love is Blind. I watched Uptown Girls, which is like that film that starred that girlie, what is that girlie's name? Brittany Murphy. The one that like died when she was like quite young, and a very young Dakota Fanning. And it's always been billed as one of these sort of, you know, like quote unquote chick flicky, but also like kind of for children-y ones, a little bit like what were the twins, the Olsen twins that like run around New York? Like it kind of felt like it was billed a little bit as that kind of film. But really it's actually like a bit weirder and sadder. Have you guys seen it?
I haven't seen it.
Oh,
have you seen it, Jamie?
I've not even heard of it, I don't think.
Really? Oh, it's like it's one of those like noughties kind of classics. And it's about this young woman who is the daughter of like this very famous rock legend who has now died. And she's been living off his royalties and his like whatever. And then at the beginning of the film, her manager or the ex-manager like steals all the money. So suddenly she needs to find a job. And she becomes nanny for like this little girl who's basically like 8 going on 80, like really, you know, feels abandoned by her parents, is very strict, very whatever. And they like teach each other about, like one of them teaches the other one how to be an adult, one teaches the other one how to be a child. And it's like very warm, but it is like a lot of like quite intense stuff on like grief and abandonment. And it's not very like chick flicky actually. I thought it was like quite charming and sweet. So I had a nice time with that. And then, do you guys know that Charlie XCX has a Letterboxd?
I did know this actually. Yeah, it came out. It was one of the special features of Bra, wasn't
yes,
it?
Yeah,
she was like, I now also like films.
Yeah, she now also likes
What's
films.
the top 4?
Well, exactly. So I say I'm making my way through the top 4. I've watched one of them, and then I've watched another one.
Let's see if we can guess. Anahit's going to pull it up.
Okay.
Jimmy, what do you think?
I mean, I think you need to narrow it down. Like, give me like a year or something.
Okay. Hang on. Where is she?
My guess is Moulin Rouge.
No.
No.
Total Recall.
No.
The Andy Samberg Lonely Island pop star film.
Oh, that's one of my favorites.
And then
we have the same hair.
And then the remake of Total Recall.
No.
In case you hadn't guessed, I wasn't trying to play the game seriously.
No.
I was trying to have some fun with it.
I'm just. Is she like a cinephile, or is she like very much? Like
yeah. It's a real mix of like pulp and cinephile.
Okay.
Like one of them is quite sexy. One has her name in it. They're all kind of about insane women.
Bound, Charlie's Angels.
Charlie's Angels is one.
Wow.
Charlie's Angels is number 2.
Okay. They're all about. Okay, right. I've got one. Jamie, you go. We'll do this as long as we need to. Jean
This is so fun.
Jean Dielman.
No. But something
Daisies?
very close to Daisies though. Longer. Think longer and more French.
Daffodils.
Oh, like
Booyah.
3.5 hours long. Or
Jean Dielman.
2015.
You said Dielman.
No, not Jean Dielman. But like longer than Daisies, because Daisies was like 80 something, 90 minutes.
But Czech? No, French.
No, French. French New Wave.
French New Wave. Long.
About 2 girlies.
Celine and
Yeah.
I think we go boating.
Yeah. Celine and Julie go boating. That's number 3. Should I just tell you the others?
Yeah.
I'm confused. How can this is a very we got Rivette and like,
and the guy that did Charlie's Angels. It's mental. So number 1 is The Addiction by Abel Ferrara.
Yeah.
Then it's Charlie's Angels, Celine and Julie go boating, and Phantom Thread. So
that's a good top 4.
Yeah, it's a really good top 4. So I watched The Addiction, which I actually really enjoyed. I don't know if I've ever seen any Abel Ferrara. Is that how you say his
Abel,
name?
I think it is.
Abel Ferrara. I don't think I've ever seen any of his stuff before. But I thought it was, it reminded me a lot of A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night,
Yeah,
except
so like-
really like truly for white people.
Yeah, so it's like
in
vampires,
academia.
but it's drug addiction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's drug addiction, but also like people talk about Nietzsche constantly. So I thought it was a real vibe. I had a great time. Like, looks really slick. It's kind of sexy and fun. So I watched that. I started Charlie's Angels, which it turns out is not a good film. But I will finish that. Maybe I'll finish that tonight. And then I watched half of Celine and Julie Go Boating because it is a really long film. It's like 3 hours and 15 minutes. So I watched half of that and I really, really loved it and I will finish it. And I've seen Phantom Thread before. So that's my big project.
Nice. Are there any other notable people? Should we do an
Letterboxd?
episode like that where we just ape notable people's letterbox top 4s and
Yeah, that
judge
would be
them all?
fun.
Which celebrity has the best taste?
So isn't Scorsese on Letterboxd and Jeremy Corbyn as well recently got a Letterboxd?
and Letterboxd often do those kind of little vox pops where you get celebrities to give the top 4.
Yeah.
So
They
even if
really
they're not
do.
on Letterboxd, we might know.
Yeah, we'd know that ones. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, there's an idea if we ever end up in this situation again where we can't be bothered to... No, not can't be bothered.
It's not
We've
that we
been
couldn't be
too
bothered.
busy.
It's not that we were too busy. It's that everything was shit.
Well, okay.
It wasn't our fault.
Don't jump right to the end.
We can just spend the episode guessing what Chaperone's top 4 are.
Oh my God, that would be so fun. Yes.
Wonderful. You know what's really good? We'll go on to, it's a good like bridging between the review and the last of this bit. You know what's really good, Jamie? Playtime, Jacques Tati, which is just, it's come on Mubi very recently and it's very, very, very good. It's absolute chaos, but it is delightful.
I don't know if I've ever seen a Jacques Tati film.
So this one is
Maybe wouldn't start with Playtime. That's actually quite long as well, isn't it?
It's very long and it's quite overwhelming to watch. So it was all shot on like 70mm and it's the set. So these like so basically they built like a small town on the outskirts of Paris and then it follows all these different people over the course of a day in this very kind of like modernist steel and glass Paris. And it is really interesting, very, very fun, a big old laugh. There's a 45-minute sequence at the opening night of like a nightclub where just everything that could go wrong does go wrong. It's very, very funny. It is like a lot of people say it's like watching real life, kind of like Where's Wally, just unfolding in front of you. The absolute chaos is brilliant. But yeah, it's really, really good. It's on Mubi. It looks great. It's
the Tati, like all his films are on there, maybe, or like
Really?
certainly is 4 most famous.
Yeah, Mon Oncle's on there. Like, yeah, they've just added them in like a bunch, as Mubi keep insisting on doing. But yeah, no, it's really, really, really good. And it does look, it's incredible that it's from like 1968, I want to say. And it looks like it was made like yesterday.
Oh, shit.
It's from 1967. And it's quite, it's basically like uncut gems for people who want to just like go to the post office, send one parcel, and then get home without being harassed by anybody.
The one I'd recommend is Monsieur. I mean, I think they're all good, but like Monsieur Hulu's Holiday is one of the funniest films ever.
Really?
Because it's essentially just Mr. Bean before Mr. Bean existed. It's like him just causing chaos on a kind of French resort.
It is all, yeah, his Houlet's in Playtime as well, and it is a little bit Monsieur Bean. And like lots of the classic thing of like picking up the thing, someone reaching for the thing, then they get confused why the thing's got. There's a really funny sequence where all the characters go to this like expo of like new products, and one of them is a door that can't be slammed. Like every time you slam it shut, it just closes completely silently, and the guy keeps like storming out of it in a huff with like somebody else. He thinks that he's like stolen all of his paperwork out of his drawer.
Yeah, I think it's also like it did bankrupt him, or the company who made it.
Oh, no.
It was so expensive, and it's definitely a bit more art house than his other ones, which are pure slapstick. This one is like very kind of like, I mean, it's very funny in slapstick, but it's like, yeah, it's like a bit more arty, I would say.
Yes, it's a serious film for serious people that also features, like I say, a 45-minute sequence in which a nightclub just slowly falls to pieces. But yeah, very, very good.
I've been meaning to watch him because he was what the fuck have I done here? He was like a really direct influence on that Palestinian filmmaker, Elias Suleiman, who I really, really like his stuff. But it's like a very similar kind of like dry comedy thing, isn't it?
And lots of kind of like fixed camera, just with him kind of in the whole frame. He uses the whole frame for comedy.
Yeah. So I've been meaning to watch his stuff since, but I haven't got
Imagine
around to
if who's the wildest art house director of just now just started making like weird avant-garde comedies in IMAX.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, Wes Anderson's not 100 miles away as well.
True.
Like, you know, the way like the comedy is also in the set design and like
and in the framing and in the blocking.
Yeah, so that is very good, and it's French, which is handy because that is going to lead on to, after this bumper, the review for this week. So, I mean, like, even when we don't try that hard, it's like we planned it.
What have you been watching?
Oh, I've just...
Sorry to ruin this segue.
we just talked about it.
Did we?
Yeah, that Jacques Tati.
Oh, I thought you were just talking about that.
No.
Oh, you watched it recently?
Yeah, I watched
it.
Nice. Yeah, I watched it like a couple of weeks ago. I'm sure we talked about it.
No, we talked about the Werner Herzog
we talked about Fitzcarraldo.
Yeah.
There we go.
We talked about the other film you watched.
Yeah, that was almost a really smooth segue, but now look what's happening.
Sorry.
Okay, let's review a film on this podcast. So the film we'll be reviewing this week is Holy Cow. So after the death of his father, Toton, who's this like 18-year-old ruffian, who really, just as a quick aside before we start, really looks like a cross between Daniel Sloss and your man from Perfume Genius. So we're in agreement, we're in definite agreement on that. So Toton has to look after his young sister in their kind of rural French home. His plan for their future is to make the best Comté cheese you've ever had. There's only one small problem that he doesn't know a huge amount about making cheese. He doesn't have any cows, etc., etc. It's a fun little jaunt that we go on. Louis Cavassier directs this. It was a prize winner in the certain regard category at Cannes. It's all first-time actors, and Toton is played by Clément Favreau, which I have to say, A+ French name. Love to see it. Jamie, I said on Letterboxd, seeing as we're talking about Letterboxd, that this was a nice time at the movies, and I said moo with many O's, so people knew that I was making reference to the fact that there's a cow in the film. You see, it's very clever of me. But this is quite a nice film, I would say. It's a nice film. Would you agree that it's a nice film?
Yeah, it's lovely.
Excellent.
It's quite small scale, quite simple, but I was really charmed by it. I think what's good to think about it is in terms of like what is the British counterpart. Because this is a film talking about working class kids, poverty, but it's not going after miserableism. It's not trying to be like poverty porn. It really depicts this life of this kid. Initially, he's very carefree. You know, he's basically a young farmer. I think we've talked about young farmers on the podcast before. You know, like
we've talked more about young farmers than you would expect. People who live in big cities who host a film podcast for an arts magazine to talk about young farmers.
Yeah,
young farmers are wild. Anyway, so he's a wild kid who like gets drunk and like goes home with girls, and like he's up to no good, and his dad's also drunk. But there's a tragedy. I don't know if we should spoil what happens. Did you mention it?
I think I mentioned it as the first words out of my mouth when we talked about it.
So his dad dies in an accident, and like I think in another film it would have really laboured the tragedy. But this film doesn't overplay it. It doesn't overplay the sadness. It doesn't shy away from it either. But I think the film is a much more just an honest and more kind of realistic film about how people grow up and grieve. You know, it's about a kid just growing up through quite a hard time, but it doesn't sort of feel the need to like punish him in any way or like sort of make him miserable. And it's also kind of a little caper about how to make cheese. Like I feel like I can make some cheese now. Like I feel like the filmmaker is really interested in the labour of making cheese, and we see the trial and error of trying to do it. Like he realizes if he makes a good cheese, he could win all this money, and his money worries would be over, which is an inherently silly idea, but it's actually so charmingly done, you know. So we see him steal milk because he knows that this milk is like very good because it's the cows eat like daisies because it's in the springtime, and he gets his crazy pals involved. There's actually a film about friendship as well. Like he loses his father and his mother's not in the picture, so he has to bring this kind of gang of like pals together, and they're not like a kind of movie gang of pals where like they're like cliches. They're actually kind of like feel like real kids. And I think because like all the kids, it seems to me reading the reviews, were just cast from this area. These are all kids who were just like kicking around this kind of I think it's in kind of eastern kind of alpine area of France. Yeah, it's
Jura,
is it called?
Yeah.
So these are just like young kids that the director found, and she's just kind of works really well with them, you know. So like I found it really charming, and like I say, I think I can now make cheese. I think if we got some milk together in a bath, and you just need to get that chemical from the cow's stomach to turn it.
Rennet.
There you go. you know more than me already.
I think one of the things that it has a very kind of like loose, vibey feel to it. The cinematography is great, and I really liked the kind of weird sort of surreal asides. I was hoping for more of them, where it would all of a sudden, like the opening shot of the entire film is a cow in a car, like a calf in like a Ford Mondeo, because it starts at this kind of like young farmers kind of like.
The big show kind of
the big kind of agricultural show, and in the first, before the opening titles have rolled, your man Toton has got up and stripped naked on top of the bar while everyone's singing and dancing, and also you've seen a cow in a car. I mean, what more could you ask for? I mean, the rest of the film, and you get the rest of them. But yeah, it's really good. I think it's like you can tell in hindsight, because I didn't know beforehand, but you can tell with hindsight that their first time actors are very kind of like naturalistic, like quite loose performances. And it's like, the kind of film where you know pretty much what's going to happen, but that doesn't detract from the enjoyment of it, because like sometimes it's weird. It almost feels like it feels like a film, non-derogatory, a film for teenagers, because it's about kind of like perils and pitfalls of growing up, but it's also about kind of being old before your time when you still want to be a kind of gadfly hanging around drinking and stealing as much milk as you can.
It would be the perfect film to screen in like Glasgow's like youth film festival or something like that. But that's not to like slag off the film. I thought it was like really charming, and it just isn't sentimental. Like that's what, I think my point is, like, it's, if you imagine a British film, it would be much more gritty, and it would like maybe have some sentimentality or like but this just doesn't. It was just like very breezy film for like, despite being about a kid who loses his father and sort of is like penniless and has to like take after his young sister. It's actually kind of real breezy, fun, charming film, and the lead, although his acting is like quite minimal. Like I think actually all his acting is almost on his face, and I think the director's probably just getting good reactions from him. You know, he doesn't actually have that much dialogue, but he's great. He's like very watchable, very charming, very charismatic. I was kind of pleasantly surprised by this film.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's a nice kind of like bucolic look at, like you say, a look at the kind of story that you've probably heard before, but in a slightly different way. The kind of thing that we like on this podcast. Anahit hasn't seen it, have you?
Are we going to explain why I haven't seen it?
We could explain why.
I broke a guitar that belonged to the Edinburgh Music Library, so I spent yesterday super gluing it back together. So I did not have time to watch the film.
Are you concerned about incriminating yourself by including this on the podcast?
No, I'm going to also add that it was very clearly broken before. I'm going to say that so clearly into the microphone. And also, will they come for me?
No, I don't think so. And I won't clip this bit for socials either. This is only for people who listen to the whole thing. Don't say I'm not good to you. Anyway, so that was Holy Cow. So Jim, what did you think out of 5?
I would probably say, this is going to sound bad, but a 3.5, but actually
it's a high 3.5, which means it's a 5.
It's a high 3. We're back on the high 3.
We know how this works.
It's like good. It's very good. I would recommend going to see it.
Yeah, I really liked it. I would say it's a 3, but like that is not, again, 3 out of 5 non-derogatory. It's not going to tear up the weeds. It's not the best film you've ever seen in your life, but it's also like just a really nice, good, well-made film about how it's actually quite difficult to make cheese, it turns out.
Is it being released cinematically?
In the end, it turns out it's quite difficult to make cheese.
All you have to do is soak your arms, Pierre. Do you remember?
Well, I do remember that, Jamie. Anahit's asked a very good question of if
do you
it's
guys
getting
not
a cinema
know how
release.
to make dairy products? Like, this really feels like a big, like, moment. Both of you.
I usually just go to the shops.
Oh, okay. I've never made we used to make our own yogurt at home when I was
put lemon in. You need to like kind of curdle it. I know roughly the process. You make the curds in the whey. You take out the curds. You smush it down
in a cheesecloth.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
This is all covered. It's all covered in the film.
I'm just saying. I think Jamie's dream is possible. Should he want it?
Oh yeah, no, we're gonna make.
It's within reach.
The office cheese making.
Christ.
Should we do a cheese competition?
Oh man.
Why must everything be a competition?
Now we're fucking cooking. And we're cooking. What are we cooking? We're cooking cheese. Yes, it is. The film is out from the 11th of April and it will be in various cinemas across the gaff. Not all of them. So your GFTs and your cameos, I would assume. So that's Holy Cow. It's good. Go and see it when it comes out. Right, okay. So we've reviewed the film. We should do a second go of what we've been watching. Parentheses, television edition. Anahit, how's the crochet going?
It's okay. I think I added some stitches. So maybe it's like evening out. Or does it now just look more uneven? Should I just frog it? Maybe I should. I'm going to keep going.
Right, while you do that, I'll come to Jamie and ask him what TV's been watching recently. What have you got from me? Because TV, famously, the cousin of film.
I've been working on...
What are you saying?
I've been working on something special.
It's
the taxonomy of Cine Skinny teams attitude to TV.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Look at him. He's been taxonomizing.
So I'll start with me. I'm the basic bitch of the team who's just essentially trying to watch all the current shows.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I've been watching Severance, White Lotus, Adolescence, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Peter is in some sort of time warp where he refuses to watch contemporary shows.
That's so true.
So you come in on a Monday morning and say, "Oh, what you been watching, Peter?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I've just been watching like Xena the Princess Warrior and Baywatch and like Gladiators."
The OC. He gave me a big screen about OC.
Yeah. Watch your mouth. I've been watching the OC.
Oh yeah, that show from 2002.
Yeah. From the walk from here to George Square yesterday was the plot of the OC. It was actually really informative.
Yeah, and he made the mistake of asking a man in his 30s one question.
And he seems to have 3 shows on repeat that she only watches when she's really sad. So like New Girl, The Gilmore Girls, Something Sex and Sight. I can't remember what else you watched. Like, you've got your ones you'd return to. The Well.
So
Man, I thought turns out I got off lightly. Jamie's like, I've come up with a taxonomy of how we all watch film, by which I mean you're all there.
And then Ellie watches kind of cool stuff, Twin Peaks, but also likes the documentaries, you know.
They do their animation. They love their little animation.
Yes, that's true, actually. Animated movies, I guess, but TV, yeah, Ellie's more of a mystery for TV.
Yeah, the great thing that Ellie has done is not give you enough ammunition to create what's nearly an entire segment of the podcast.
I call myself a basic bitch.
Brutally taking shots. Anyway, so you said that. So you're our new television correspondent, self-proclaimed.
Okay, yeah.
What's good in new telly? Because I'll have you know, I started watching Adolescence. I watched the first 2 episodes, and I'll watch the other 2 shortly. But I'm at work now, so I can't. I'm at work and defending myself from vicious slander. Not as bad as what Anahit got, but still.
Adolescence is good. I do wonder if it wasn't for the single take, it would be getting talked about in quite the same way. Because it is like, I think there is problems with a single take, and that everything gets a bit compressed and it doesn't quite feel exactly how like a interrogation would happen. But you know, sometimes I think actually it would be nice to like cut and see a bit more. And also it means like it's quite thin because it's only 4 episodes and the kids involved is only actually in 2 of them. So there's a lot of ellipses, so we don't really find out exactly what's happening in between, which is good. It means you can like. I mean, usually my complaint with Netflix is there's too much. Like usually you watch a whole show and nothing's happened, and it's like, what? This plot's not moved on. Whereas Adolescence goes so fast, you get 1 episode and then it's like 6 months later and something else has happened. So you can't quite gauge what's happening in between. But it's probably the show where I've had the biggest conversations afterwards about what everything means, because it doesn't explain too much. I think that's what I kind of liked about it. There's not like too much explaininess. You have to like come to your own conclusions.
This is one thing that I've had. So I've only watched the first 2. So obviously this conversation isn't going to have any spoilers because I'm not wanting to get spoiled any more than anyone in the audience is wanting to get spoiled. But the thing that is very interesting about so the conversation around the show has obviously been about how it reflects on the sorry state of particularly men in society, but of like society in the UK in general. But the first episode is basically just a completely straight up, like straight down the line police procedural about someone being taken into custody, and then the early stages of that process of being taken in, and how they feel about it, how their family feels about it, how the detectives involved feel about it. And after that, it kind of opens up into having these bigger conversations about, by the second episode, it's getting quite into things of like toxic masculinity and like dodgy male men's rights influencers, and how those people affect kind of like school age people and all that kind of stuff.
Because what is this one about? It's about like a little boy that hurts a girl.
Yes. It's interesting because like it's not like we think we know pretty much for certain he's done it. There's video evidence, but it's actually it's more of a why he done it, and it does go into. So the first episode is very much how the police deal with working with a young child, and it's like very much like we get an understanding of how the police approach it, how the parents approach it, how like the kind of people who are there to protect the kid, and the lawyers and stuff. So that's like the first part. The second part's in the school, so it's like the police going into the school to ask his pals about it. The third part is sit down, probably the best episode I'd say, with the kid and his psychologist or psychiatrist, who has to make the decision: is he fit to go in front of a jury, and does he understand the whole consequences of what he did? And then the fourth one's just like looking at the family and the kind of aftermath of the family. So it's like it is like a kind of like it's very compressed, but actually it does cover a huge kind of range of all the kind of angles. Like a great show. Stephen Graham, I think, came up with the concept and is co-writer as well. So he's really impressive in terms of like always been a great actor, but yeah, he's clearly got a good idea for what makes a great TV show as well.
And it's Stephen Graham and Philip Barantini who did Boiling Point together, and it's very, very kind of like in the same vein in terms of like structure and construction as Boiling Point. It's these kind of long, steady cam, one take equivalents, which actually there's some really good Steadicam stuff in Holy Cow. It begins with like a long tracking shot behind just an old man carrying a beer keg through the back of this agricultural show. And I turned to Sally when we watched this. I was like, remember when, I mean, obviously we don't remember because we weren't alive, but you know when the very first kind of like Steadicam type shots were in films and people were like, this is the wildest thing I've ever seen in my life.
The Shining was when it was invented, was that right?
Yeah. So like the fact that if it was The Shining, that's like literally almost like that's just after when.
Because obviously you had tracking shots, like, but obviously there's limits to tracking shots. You can only go so far. You have to build all these rigs and stuff. But yeah, the idea of a Steadicam is like a camera that it absorbs the shakes essentially. Yeah,
and you can move with, and then like the fact that is now such like a widespread thing, even in kind of like small, low budget films and in like TV, that you could have like entire shows that are done in this way.
Well, also the problem was like everything was on film before, and film can only really do 10 or 15 minutes before you have to change the reel.
Yeah.
So all kind of long shots before, essentially, when did digital come in? Like before like 2000. The longest you'll get is like 15 minutes, like these kind of bravado shots, and then people started doing, well, we'll do 60 minutes, we'll do 90 minutes, you know. So
or they'd be tacked together like in rope or something like that, where they're like pretending, but it's not actually like one take.
Exactly. Yeah, the door shuts and then they just re-emerge on the other side of the door. Because apparently there's a bit of that. There was an Instagram reel I saw about adolescents talking about how there's a shot in the second episode where a kid jumps out the window to run away from the police. It's like, how did they put the camera through the window? And the simple answer is they didn't put the camera through the window. It's just a VFX shot. So they pass the camera through the window. So they add the window in post, and it's just like a window frame, and then they pass the camera from one end to the other. And then there's also like, because you can mat out things like crash mats and stuff. Like it turns out, because I did a little bit of this kind of editing yesterday on the photos that I put on the Instagram of the new cover, because you know how I had that blue bag that kept like showing up.
Oh yeah.
Well, I just like matted that out and painted it the same color as the grass behind it, and you can't tell.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do with
Canva.
It's amazing what you can do with some free-to-use photo editing software and slightly too long when you're at work. And it take an embarrassingly long time to do a basically decent job. So yeah, Adolescence is very good. It's on Netflix. I feel like a lot of people will have seen it by now, but they should also go and watch Boiling Point, both the short and the film, which I think are both on iPlayer just now. So that'll show Netflix when we just direct everyone away from their platform to watch other things by this creative team. Anahit, what have you been watching? Is it one of your sad girls TV programs? Brackets Jamie Dunn 2025.
Currently, no. I am mostly still watching Love is Blind, but mostly because I am doing a lot of like stuff in the house, so I need like background TV. But in terms of actual TV, I've been watching White Lotus. I haven't watched this week's episode, but last week's episode was crazy. That was fucking nuts.
No, I've not seen the White Lotus. Is this the one where the guy wanks off his brother? Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
That's,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is about some of these, because I only watch TV from the past, Jamie Dunn, 2025, I find out about the things that are in these programs from things like Instagram memes and just like the general absorbing of the culture.
Yeah, like people are really obsessed with the incest siblings. Yeah.
Weirdly though, it does annoy me because nobody mentioned it in Game of Thrones. Why is somebody so obsessed with it now?
I feel like people talked about it a
didn't
lot
watch
in
Game of Thrones, and one of the things I know about it is that like that in
People
people
definitely
were
did.
commenting on the incest.
But I think there's also something about like, oh, this is set in like a weird fantasy world where like, oh, everyone's kind of a bit medieval and there's like this weird fucked up things going on and there's like sexual violence and sexual whatever everywhere. And then in like a 5-star resort where it's never happened in that TV show before and you're like, are you guys flirting? Am I reading into this? Yeah, it's crazy. I actually thought the sexual dynamics were more to begin with the younger brother and the sister because he like follows her around everywhere. I thought that's where it was leading. But
you've not seen the new episode.
no, I haven't. Oh. Okay, I need to go and watch that. Yeah, it makes me feel icky.
Sorry, are you saying that televised dramatization of incest makes you feel icky?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's totally fair.
In a way
I love how the least fucked up person in that family is Parker Posey.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I too would be like mainlining Xanax if I were her.
Yeah, what I'll say, Parker Posey remains winning. You'll love to see.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it feels quite different than the other 2 seasons in that they were horrible in, I don't know, like the class dynamics and all of that. Whereas there is just something about this that's just a bit like, oh, you people aren't well. Do you know what I mean? It feels like a slightly different energy.
I gotta say, I really, as much as I like parts of it, I think that overall I'm less, I enjoy this season less.
Yeah.
I think part of it is because the first 2 really, you're on the side of at least one person who works at the hotel.
Yeah.
So like Murray Bartlett in the first one, and then the second one you've got I can't remember her name, but the Italian lady who has a kind of lesbian affair.
Yes,
who's just like horrible to everyone. But you also had the 2 kind of
the 2 sex workers as well,
yeah.
who were very like sweet and you're on their side.
And like, so there's no kind of locals that have really good stories this year. I feel like it's like a bit kind of weak, and I think you needed those kind of like more working class characters to counteract against the kind of crazy rich people. So
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, it's fun. I like it. I like watching an episode a week of something. Yeah, it's just a bit like, ugh. Anyway.
Who do you think is going to die?
Oh, man, who do I think is going to die? I kind of hope it's the dad, sort of because he wants to die anyway. So I'm like, well, that's not that bad. Whereas the others don't want to die. So I'm like, oh, that would be sad. I don't know. I get very, I don't know. Like, I have friends watching it that are like, oh, they should just all die. And I'm like, oh, but they're doing their best. But they're not. They're like literally the worst people that you've ever seen. So I don't know.
See, it's always something you like who dies. That's the thing. So it's never, is it actually
That's
the arseholes?
true. Yeah. I really hope it's not one of the young women, like Amy Lou Wood or whatever. I hope it's not one of them. And I kind of hope it's not one of the people that like works there again, because I think that worked quite well with the like Murray Bartlett storyline. Spoilers for season 1 of The White Lotus. Because he was just like so beleaguered and like spiraling himself that there was like, as a kind of narrative kind of momentum, it actually was like quite satisfying and made sense. Whereas it would feel quite victimizey this time, I think, maybe. And then with Jennifer Coolidge's character as well, there was a kind of farcical element to it. Whereas there are a lot of people in this one, like if Natasha Rothwell's character dies or whatever, they'll be like, oh, that's just like quite fucked up. So I don't know. I feel like I know where it's going less than I did with the other ones. But it's fun. I like that. I also watched half of that new TV show Paradise. Have you guys, it was like the adverts on the bus with Sterling K. Brown?
No, I don't know.
Did you guys not see this?
No.
Okay, it's a Disney, well, I think it's technically like a Hulu show. And it's made by the people that did This Is Us, which I only have watched half a season of that. But my friend that I started watching Paradise with was like, this is exactly the same in that it's like big kind of emotional, melodramatic things big monologues. You know the way that people talk to each other on TV shows, that you're like, if a person talked to me like this in real life, I would slap them.
Like an Aaron Sorkin chat.
Yeah, where they're just like, you ask them a question and they kind of look away and they're like, when I was 7, I began to play the trombone. And you're like, shut the fuck up. And then they just go on like that for 10 minutes until they're finally like, and the thing that you said really offended me. And you're like, why didn't you just say that from the beginning then? Jesus. So it's like very that sort of thing. But it has like this moment. It's like a twist at the end of the first episode, which I'm going to tell you because I don't think anyone's watching the show. But you have like this kind of setup so the president of the United States has been killed, like he's been like murdered at the very beginning. So it's like it's billed as like a political thriller. The like, if only it's James Marsden though, who you're like, oh, he seems nice, and like the posters were very like political thrillery, blah blah. And then it's about his bodyguard Sterling K. Brown, and he's like trying to figure out what happened. And then at the end of the first episode, it starts to like pan out. And you see that the world that they're in is almost this Truman Show. They're in this like encased thing. And what has happened is that there was like a major apocalyptic event and only 25,000 people were rescued and brought inside like the city built inside the Colorado mountain, and no one can go outside. And so the US president has become like the president of this world and has just been assassinated. And then you're kind of finding out what happened, but it's also like a lot of like family it's like tonally quite weird.
Yeah, I'm gonna be straight up with you. That sounds fucking stupid.
Yeah, it is. It really truly is. But kind of compelling. But I watched half of it. But because it's fucking stupid, I'm like, I don't actually want to watch the rest. I might just like Wikipedia the plot and see what happens.
I love the way as well that they do like the pan out, because they're like, they couldn't even leave it one calendar hour no. We've got to spoil the surprise right away, Jamie.
Right now. And it's really funny because the way that you see it is that the sun is like a big lampshade hanging over the earth. It's really silly. Anyway, so I watched that, which is quite unusual for me because I don't really watch TV in a sort of like, oh, that's on, let's just put it on. But I was with a friend and she was like, oh, I watched the first episode, let's watch it again. And I was like, oh, okay. And I watched the rest, like 3 or 4 more. And I was like, okay,
I assume as well that the lampshade reveal isn't played for laughs. It's
no, it's serious. So deadly serious. Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah. And it's like this kind of creeping, tense music. And I was really sold, but I was also quite stoned at the time.
And there we go.
So there was that. And then I've also, this was a while ago now, I finally caught up, or I finally watched, because I'd never seen it before, almost the entire first season of Severance. And then really a month ago, actually, because I almost finished it on the train back from London. Actually 6 weeks ago. That's my bad. I have 20 minutes of the final episode of season 1 left. And I have not watched it. So I need to do that and watch season 2. But I did like it.
Next week we'll talk about that, because I'll get thoughts on Severance.
Does that mean I need to watch all of Severance by next week? Okay. That's actually really good motivation.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of that either.
Okay.
But I've just started watching.
Peter, we'll talk about that with Peter in about 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I've just started watching Stath Let's Flats. Jimmy Dimitriou's sitcom from about 10 years ago.
Is it good?
It's really funny. The second episode is one of the funniest things I've seen in a very long time. He plays like an idiot letting agent whose dad runs the family letting agency. And then the first episode, he reveals that he wants to retire, but he doesn't want to give the job to Jimmy Dimitriou because he's an idiot. And then basically each episode follows him on some kind of harebrained, ridiculous, like, he's not good at the job, but he's a lovable oaf.
I don't want to panic anyone. Should that be green?
No, we're recording on the computer. It's fine. Don't worry. I had the same wobble a minute ago. And the great thing is, it's currently.
So wait, why is this even here then?
Because all the microphones are coming through here, and then it goes through the computer.
Why aren't we recording? Oh, can you not record on both?
I mean,
at the
you
same
can.
time?
I just forgot to press the button.
Oh, okay, but we are. It's definitely recording.
Yeah, it's definitely recording. I realised that it wasn't.
Ellie does keep this place together.
Yeah, I realised as well that we weren't recording on the Roadcaster about 3 minutes ago, and that's when I had a little bit of a panic. But it's all right. Someone was I think you were in full flow about Sterling K. Brown's new program. I didn't want to interrupt you with the.
No,
like, don't worry, everything is fine.
Okay, that's great.
I don't want to panic anyone.
Okay. I think it's deceptive. I understand that red is the colour of record, but I think green is go.
Yeah, green is you're good to go.
Yeah, they
you
should
are
come up with a
recording.
different colour.
And red is like stop talking.
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
not
yeah.
recording.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, we
Talking
do
about stop talking.
have to stop recording because it's 3 minutes to 3 and we need to be
shit.
yeah. So I think we're probably done. We did want to flag that there's a bunch of like Record Store Day related screenings at the GFT, but I mean we've just told you now, so that's fine. That didn't need to be a segment. It was just one line. Also, I'm doing a Record Store Day after party in Leith, so you should come to that.
Yeah, baby.
Jamie, you come through to Edinburgh on the 12th of April.
Probably not, but I'll.
Well,
what's in your set list?
We'll discuss that off mic. That's worth asking, wasn't it? You've got to try and do some marketing when you can. No, right, okay.
No, it was worth asking. That wasn't what I was saying.
Ellie really does keep this place together. Jamie, thank you very much.
Cheers, Pierre.
Anahit, thank you.
you.
Progress update on the crochet.
It's definitely longer in bits, so I think it's fine. And then it'll be stitched to the other side so it can just stretch out.
It'll be stitched at the other side so it can just stretch out.
Yeah.
This has incredibly been the Cinny Skinny. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.